patients with complex health issues using a wide array of individualized strategies for healing. When she testified on SC 1669, I said, I need to know her. She is incredible. She has treated many patients who have had COVID, and she's been very successful. She's going to share some of that information with you. So please give it up for Dr. Amy Offutt. What an honor. As Reagan said, my name is Dr. Amy Offutt. I'm a practicing physician here in Central Texas for about the last 21 years. I'm here today to provide some logical medical thoughts regarding the current state of how we've managed COVID-19 in the state of Texas. Specifically related to whether or not mandating these EUA COVID injections is appropriate. What makes me uniquely qualified to speak is that my team and I have been actively successfully treating patients since March of 2020. We've been treating them early as possible, outpatient, acutely, and it has been working. When I first heard about this disease, I did what my physician training taught me. I started reading. I read multiple papers about strategies from the past, even as far back as 2003 in Asia. From those articles, I drafted a treatment plan because I felt like I needed something in my toolbox to do for my patients if they got sick. I used it when my first patient called on March 16th. She did well. And I kept fine-tuning it over the past year from input with a lot of other U.S. doctors who are also treating early and outpatient. There was no controversy at all when I started treating these patients. Literally, it was just business as usual. Patients call, they're sick, we treated them. Because these treatments were working, when the controversy started last summer, out of a strong ethical obligation to care for my patients, I continued to treat the numbers of sick people as they increased. As of this week, my practice has treated approximately 1,200 acutely ill patients as old as 98 years old. We have less than 20 hospitalizations and 0 deaths for patients. If they presented before the 7th day. Sadly, I do include in my stats one patient we lost. He came in on the 12th day of illness. He was a transplant patient. He had already been to the ER and was turned away multiple times before he sought care from us. It was so unnecessary. Stories like that are why I decided to start to speak up. The other point is that the ones of us who are doing this, which is a small group, but we all really encourage each other, this was all going on before even any shots were available, just to remind everybody about that. The data I just presented are real. They're my own numbers from my own practice. And I also have reached out to some of the other doctors treating early, and the one that really blows the statistics out of the water is Dr. Brian Tyson in California, who just shared with me his most recent updated numbers. He's now at 6,200 patients treated, 2 hospitalized who were treated before day 7, 0 deaths treated before day 7, and only 4 deaths. So why isn't this information spreading like fire? It's just hard to understand why those of us who want to have something to use that is actually FDA approved but used off-label as a medication cocktail for sick patients, what would be wrong with that? I believe these treatments are safe, and I think safety is a high priority. In April of this year, I testified here at the Capitol on behalf of the House bill that Reagan mentioned. As a physician, informed consent is core to shared decision-making and good medicine. In fact, I'm going to read you this from the AMA published Code of Medical Ethics. Informed consent to medical treatment is fundamental in both ethics and law. Patients have the right to receive information and ask questions about recommended treatments so that they can make well-considered decisions about care. Successful communication in the patient-physician relationship fosters trust and supports shared decision-making. Presently, we are hearing stories about mandates. Such mandates, especially for young people like college students, are especially surprising as they're so low risk. We hear stories every day, people calling our clinic about children who got disinvited to play on a team or aren't allowed to attend a birthday party because of their vaccine status. This simply does not make medical sense. The package inserts for these injections give further evidence to this. The package insert actually says this: additional adverse reactions, some of which may be serious, may become apparent with more widespread use, and that the following must be communicated to each recipient or their caregiver prior to each dose. These are not FDA-approved vaccines. The recipient or the caregiver has the option to accept or refuse the vaccine. The significant known and potential risks and benefits of the vaccine and the extent to which such risks and benefits are unknown. The informed consent documents refer patients to a fact sheet that is actually FDA approved. The fact sheet instructs patients and clinicians to report side effects to the VAERS directly, and the package insert goes further, saying that this reporting is mandatory for errors, serious adverse events, cases of multi-inflammatory syndrome in adults, and hospitalized or fatal cases. The current data is astronomical. I'm not going to read the numbers because I'm sure you're all aware that it just keeps getting larger and larger as the numbers are counted. The numbers are so sobering and shocking, especially when they're not brought up from our news sources. If we are to anticipate that a select number of recipients would be sacrificed for the sake of research, many of us would appreciate some honesty about that. But how many? After I heard the Ramirez story, it just reminded me that we have to speak up, especially for young people, and protect them. Safety has got to be the priority for our state as we follow ongoing data. I have people call every day and tell me they have had some issue after the vaccine and they're still sick, and I tell them report it, report it, report it. A lot of them don't know to report it, or their doctor doesn't think it's related, so they don't report it. The other thing in the packaging is that we have extrapolated data from adults to adolescents, which since when are we ever allowed to do that? We were never allowed to do that in all the years of deciding what treatments are appropriate. We've always been told children are not little adults. Lastly, the package insert goes on to say that serious and unexpected side effects may occur, and this vaccine is still being studied in clinical trials, but we don't get reminded of that very often. Full informed consent requires this information be shared with each patient, and the patient be allowed to choose the therapy or decline it. That is basic medical ethics, and that goes against these mandates we keep hearing about. So I'd like to close with a few thoughts. People are afraid. Some are afraid to lose their lives. Some are afraid to lose their freedom. Many doctors are afraid to lose their licenses, especially now that politics and medicine are so entangled. I have never treated patients as any lesser or with judgment based on their political views. My training over and over and over was to never abandon a patient. We cannot abandon patients now by leaving them home with little to no therapeutic options when they are afraid and just waiting to see whether or not they will have to go to the hospital. That's the emergency. We have tools to address it. I challenge you doctors out there who are sitting back and not offering any type of care for your patients places where you can start with a very basic protocol. If the patient still ends up going to the hospital, it's not because of you. Show your support for the patient-physician relationship, and let's not abandon our patients.
Dr. Offit, we are so grateful that you are here today and so brave and bold to step up and speak truth. We really appreciate you.
All right.